You're listening to the What's Happening podcast with Gary Watts.
So, good morning. I'm here with Matt Getz with the Iowa Heartlanders. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful today, Gary.
Good.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. We're here to talk about hockey. Now, it's not that cold out yet, but it's coming right around the corner, right? So, hockey's going to be here.
Yeah, hockey will be here regardless of the weather. So
Right.
I don't want you to think we're bringing the snow. I don't want people hating me already.
So, anyway, Matt, tell us about, I know you're the president of the Heartlanders, which is our local hockey team here right in the Coralville Arena here, just down the road from us. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to, I know you were at University of Iowa for a while and whatnot, but just tell us how you got to be president of the Heartlanders. Give us your journey here, and then we'll start talking about hockey.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty wild journey. So I maybe don't want to go through all the bumps in the road, but got my undergraduate degree from the University of Northern Iowa in sales and marketing. And so did that for a couple years, and then bounced through a couple different job opportunities, trying to figure out what the right thing for me was.
What'd you sell back then? You said a couple years.
Commercial insurance, which
really?
is the sexiest thing I could have told you right now, right?
Right. Well, that's good stuff, huh?
Everybody's
got to be insured.
It's a necessary part of life,
Right.
Unfortunately, and but people don't like talking about it. It's not as
Right.
much fun to buy as hockey tickets.
Yeah, well, you got to have it. My bankers are always telling me, "Is that insured?" I go, "I hope so. It better be."
You've got good bankers.
So anyway, UNI.
Yep.
Did you have a good experience at UNI?
I loved it. I just to also put out there, I got my master's at the University of Iowa. So loved both experiences, but they're very, very different. UNI was a very intimate sort of campus. I think at the time there were maybe 14,000 students there. I'm not sure if the enrollment's that high anymore. It might be 10 or 11,000 maybe, but it really there was a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things, which is really great for me. I grew up in Southeast Iowa in Keokuk, went to a small Catholic school, graduated with 18 kids. So I grew up in the you have to do everything or other people don't get to do what they like to do. And so being involved in a lot of different things was very important to me, at least the experience I wanted to get. And so being at UNI where you could be in a variety of different things was awesome. And at the University of Iowa, they have even more programming available, but there's also a lot more students. So the depth of the experience you can have, you can't go as wide and as deep as you could at the University of Northern Iowa, but the University of Iowa is still a wonderful place. I wouldn't say anything bad about my graduate experience there.
What was your degree at Iowa in?
I believe my diploma says leisure studies, but now it's the sport and rec management program.
Okay. So now you graduated and you started to work at event management in Iowa? Or?
So I did probably 5 years of some different things that I would say. I worked at a grocery store. I worked for my fraternity, doing risk management and alumni planning. I worked for the United States Golf Association. I worked for Special Olympics. I worked for a bank doing loan officer type stuff. And so just a variety of different experiences. And when I worked for the United States Golf Association and the Special Olympics in 2006, we were hosting the first ever Special Olympic National Games. There had been World Games, there had been State Games, but there had never been a National Games before. And so there were, I think, 14 sports and activities that were sponsored for that. And my boss at the time oversaw all 14, but said, "Hey, you've got a strong background in golf." I worked at a golf course from age 14 to 23. And so she said, just go ahead and do the golf piece of it and then help with these other ones. And I fell in love with event management. And in that process, then I applied for some jobs at the University of Iowa that were open, but because I didn't have any experience in event management or collegiate athletics, it's almost impossible to get a job at an institution like the University of Iowa without some previous experience. Excuse me. And so I don't know that students get the opportunity anymore, but back in 2006, you used to get a letter mailed to you that said, "Thank you for applying, but we've hired somebody else." And so I emailed the guy who signed the paperwork, and I said, "Hey, I would really like to have a job in the future. What can I do to be a better candidate?" And he said, "To work in college sports, you have to have worked in college sports." And he said, "I know that sounds ridiculous, but the way to get in is to either do an unpaid internship or go to grad school and get a grad assistant spot." So I moved from Indianapolis, where I was living at the time, and I moved to Iowa City, and I worked my full-time job, which was at U.S. Department of Education subcontractor. We planned events around the country to help improve the quality of education. And so I did that from 6 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon, and then I went and I worked unpaid for the Iowa Event Management Unit from 3:30 to 6:30, and then did events on nights and weekends. And after a year of that, I got offered the opportunity, if I wanted to go to grad school, they would offer me one of the grad assistant positions, and so I took that. And I guess the rest, for people who don't know, I guess I shouldn't say the rest is history, but worked for 2 years as a grad assistant, and then they created a 2-year temporary appointment for me, which was managing championships. And that was because we were hosting, in a 2-year span, typically a Big Ten institution would host 4 or 5 Big Ten or NCAA championships. And in 2012 alone, we had a 9-week span where we hosted 7 plus the Olympic trials for wrestling. And they needed somebody to just focus on those things. And so I was lucky enough to get that opportunity. And then I like to say at the end of that 2-year temporary appointment, they made me a real boy. And then I was a full-time employee there for the next 5 years, I think. And then ultimately ended up leaving in 2018 and went back to the insurance world and worked for a company where I could really help them grow. Building systems is something that I learned that apparently I've got a little bit of a talent for, and that I love doing that work. And I learned that through working at the University of Iowa in the athletic department.
What do you mean by systems?
Well, a great example is, so I've been the president of the Heartlanders for 9 weeks. But I don't.
It's fresh, right?
Real fresh, real fresh. So the first thing that I did when I came in was I spent the first week just talking to people who work who work for the Heartlanders, who have worked for the Heartlanders, people who are closely affiliated with Heartlanders, and I asked 3 questions, and I gave them as much time they wanted to talk as possible. So some of them were 45 minutes, some of them were 3 hours, and I just wanted to know, what do you love about the Heartlanders? What do you wish was different about the Heartlanders? And then what can I do to make you the best at what you do? And in hearing those things, almost everyone said, we haven't had a very good experience. The previous ownership group didn't really invest in it financially the way that was necessary, or that they felt was necessary. And they said, everything just seems harder than it needs to be. And so when you hear people say things are harder than it needs to be, immediately what comes to mind for me is there's not a process in place for this is how we do it. That it's people just trying to piece things together the best they can. And I certainly, and I tell the staff almost every day, the results that we've had in the past couple of years are not failures. What you needed to grow and develop, the previous presidents, who I think did a really great job on the things they were working on, but developing the staff and creating systems, I don't think was part of what they wanted to focus on. And I don't know anything about starting a hockey team, but obviously there's a lot of work that goes into that. But so my priority over the last 9 weeks is I want to find out what we do and why we do it and how we do it. And then what's the reason that we do it the way that we do it? Is this the best way for us? Are there better things we could do? And from that perspective, I think that's where I enjoy building systems is how can we make as many things routine as possible so that we can spend our time not trying to solve everyday items, but spend our time going from great to excellent. And if you're spending your time trying to figure out how to pay an invoice, that's not working on moving us to where we need to be.
So you're the president of the Heartlanders. What's your main goal as president? What do you want to try to accomplish?
Well, I can tell you that when I got a call asking if I was interested, the thing that appealed to me, because I've worked in sports, and I mean, this is going to sound braggy, but like I hosted an NCAA championship for swimming and diving in 2015 here. I've hosted 2 Olympic trials. There's not a lot of things left in terms of event management or sports that I feel like is a new challenge for me. What's important to me about this position is that this is a community asset that people just don't know about.
Right.
This is something that will make the quality of life for people who live in our community even better than it already is. And I want to make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to experience what can be a really, really great thing.
I think you touched on it a little bit. I think a lot of people don't know about the Heartlanders. I think they know about the arena, and they know it maybe puts on concerts, and there's girls volleyball, I think, right now, or maybe they just got over. But they don't know about hockey. And maybe Iowa City isn't really a hockey mecca. I mean, seems like Waterloo, you go up north, they're more into hockey. I don't know if that's true or not, but obviously hockey, I know I went to a football game at Michigan State here about 20 years ago, and there's this beautiful hockey arena right next to the stadium. Wow. But Michigan and Minnesota, are more into hockey. But when you think about hockey, I just remember the Miracle on Ice, and was it the 80 Olympics?
Yeah. Yep.
Which I mean, Herb Brooks, I think, was the coach from University of Minnesota, and he coached the Olympic team. And if you've never seen that story or heard it or watched the movie Miracle on Ice,
yep, great
I think
story.
Kurt Russell is the coach, or Brooks. It's one of the best stories in any sporting event. Because we took David and Goliath. We were, college guys and came together in the Olympic team. They're playing against Russians at that time, were pros, or it was kind of their pro team, and we were a college team, and we beat them. I mean, it's just it's an amazing story. So, it kind of got hockey stirred in our blood, but that was a long time ago. So anyway, let's get back to the Heartlanders. Sorry, I was kind of sliding around there a little bit, but what's your main goal? To get people to know we're here, right?
Yeah.
And how do you plan on doing that? Give me some ideas on to let folks around Johnson County or Cedar Rapids, Lynn County, how do they know about the Heartlanders?
That's a really great question, and I'm 9 weeks in, so I don't have all the answers.
Okay.
But some things that we're definitely going to be working on, and that we've already made some good progress in my opinion, is we need our team, we need our players, we need our staff to be involved in the community.
Okay.
We need to be at things. So, and if I can take a step back for a second, I wouldn't call myself what a lot of people would say a hockey guy. So we've had 2 home games already, and in my lifetime, those were games 8 and 9 that I've been to. So I don't really have a hockey background, but that doesn't mean that I can't become a hockey guy. And that's one of the things that I really want to stress for people is that you can enjoy the product of the Iowa Heartlanders. You can enjoy the event, and you don't have to know hockey. You don't have to love hockey. Now, that definitely is a barrier for some people, that when I talk to them and say, hey, you're my friend, like, I'd love to have you come to a game, and the answer sometimes is, hey, I don't understand hockey. That's not for me. And, you don't want to say, you don't really understand baseball either, but you show up. Or you don't understand football, but you still show up. And we've got a lot of things to sell. There's fun, there's community, and something that I was just thinking about this morning. Do you remember the movie Talladega Nights?
Yeah.
So that movie starts out with a black screen, and there's a quote that comes up that they attribute to Eleanor Roosevelt that I'm pretty sure she didn't say, that it's, America was built on speed, hot, nasty speed.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Not that Eleanor Roosevelt said it,
Right.
but I think there's truth to it, that people want to see athleticism. They want to see speed. They want to see power. They want to see people do things that they can't do. And even if you don't know what's going on, hockey is so fast. Yeah. There's so much that goes on. And even if you don't know what's happening, you can enjoy all the things. There's the elevations in excitement level happen so much more often than they do in any other sport, in my opinion.
So do you think people would maybe enjoy it more if they knew more about it? Is there a way to put on classes, or once in a while, hey, come by on a Tuesday night, we're going to be explaining it, like what's icing? What's a forward do? The goalie, you think just sits around, just some basics of hockey. Do you think that would let the public know that, or help them be educated a little more to come out and see it?
You are, in my opinion, you are 100% correct, Gary. And we are actively right now out trying to find a sponsor who would want to help support us in the Learn Hockey from a Lander, where we would have our players do a video series where they talk about, just in a consumable way. Like, I don't know there's a lot of people that want to give 45 minutes on a Tuesday night. Right. There are some people who would. But if we can do a minute on this is what icing is, and you learn it from a player,
Right.
I think that's very consumable for people. And it also, like, the more we can sprinkle in there, one 45-minute session, you can learn a lot. But that's a one-time thing, and then you move on. But if you see something every week that comes out about hockey, it's fresher in your mind. You start thinking to yourself, hey, there's a lot of hockey stuff coming across my feed.
Right.
Is there something that I don't know? Like,
Right.
are people excited about this and I'm missing out? And I think the answer is yes, people are missing out, but that's on us for not promoting it as well as we could. And finding the right way to do that is very, very important to me. And we had an all intern meeting last week, which or it was actually on Sunday, excuse me. It's probably a good time to point out that we have 8 full-time staff at the Iowa Heartlanders on the front office side of things. And the average ECHL, that's East Coast Hockey League, which is what we play in, the average team has 16 staff members. So currently we've got much less than the average. So we're a small and mighty group, and I think that's maybe an advantage to us in some ways, that we have currently 25 University of Iowa students who are interning with us in some capacity. And I think it's really important when I talk about being a member of the community, an invested piece of this, being an asset, working with the University of Iowa to give students real experience is something that's very important to me. It was something that was important to me when I was at the University of Iowa, and it's something that continues to be important to me. And so we just had a meeting with our 25 interns that previously they'd been asked to come and help out when they could, and then be at our home events. But what I asked for them is you can have a much deeper experience with us if you come in during the week and do some office hours with us. And so we've got 7 social media interns. We've got 2 videographers, a photography student that all want to be a part of what we're building. And so when I talk about structure earlier, this is how do I take the passion and the talents that they have and organize it and direct it in a way that's going to accomplish the missions of the organization. And certainly how we get things out, what we put out, is it something that people are interested in? Does it draw their attention? Is it something that causes them to take an action, whether it's just to have a conversation about the Heartlanders or hockey, or is it something that drives them to buy a ticket and show up at a game? Just there's from where I see there's so much upward room for us that it's kind of one of those things, you look around and you see so many targets, but you can't shoot them all at once.
Right.
Which are the ones that are going to drive the most value for our community, and what's the ones that people are going to identify with and have the greatest impact? And so we're still working through that, which I know I said I've only been here 9 weeks. At some point, that's not going to be an excuse. But that's the reality of where we are right now, is just trying to get our hands around what are the resources we have, what are the things we need to accomplish, and how do we match those two up?
So how do you get the word out? Are you on social media? Is it, how do people know their schedule? I mean, tell us a little bit more about actually how do you get the word out?
So the probably what we've leaned on in the past is we've got I believe the 4 main, quote unquote, main social media channels, which for those people who are young are going to tell me you don't know what social media is, and I would respond, that's right, I don't. I have LinkedIn, and that's as far as I go. But LinkedIn, Twitter, or now X, Facebook, and Instagram, we've got presences out there that we try and put things out once every other day or so, and then also our website, iowaheartlanders.com, has our full schedule, our listing of our promotions that are going on, which are still in development. So if there are people who are listening to this or watching this that go to iowaheartlanders.com, check back regularly, because we're going to be adding things throughout the year. But that's the way that we've been leaning on it. But what we'd like to do is we've already met with, I would say 40 or 50 businesses, and a lot of them in the Iowa River Landing area, which is where Xtream Arena, powered by Mediacom, which I'm contractually obligated to say, that's where that's located.
Right.
And we really have this vision that we would like it to have sort of a Wrigleyville feel on game days. So do you see flags everywhere? Do you see, and we worked with the Iowa Athletic Club, Tribute, and 30 Hop, that we outfitted their entire staff with shirts so that on game days they can wear those. When people come in, they see that, and that's a point of marketing that we would never be able to get if we were to try and buy an ad or put something on the radio, put it on TV, which we're doing those traditional advertising forms as well. But what I think, I've lived in Iowa City or Coralville since 2007, and what I've found living here is that this is a community that really thrives on connection. Who do you know? Who do you talk to? How do you mix together in those things? And being able to see people wearing our stuff, hearing people talk about it, I think is going to be a lot more powerful for us than anything we can do in social media or traditional marketing channels. We're still going to work on those things, but we've got to get places where people learn our name and want to talk about what they saw us do.
I saw something the other day. It was about Mark Cuban and the Dallas Mavericks, and a professional basketball team that he bought. I don't know when, quite a while ago.
Yep.
And he said that he on his team, I think there was 20 folks. I may not be telling the story totally correct, but the point is where I'll get to here pretty quick. And he had a really small attendance, and he was like, how are we going to get to this? And he said, just good old-fashioned hustle. So he gathered his team together. He said, I didn't sit up in the office overlooking the arena. I got right down there on the floor with his folks. He said, we just got on the phones. And they started calling past ticket holders or season ticket holders to try to get them to come back or come to the games, and trying to explain that he's a new owner and what he was trying to do. He kind of gave them a story, and also talked about you can go to a game for less than the price than taking the family to McDonald's. And that's how inexpensive it is and how much more fun you're going to have. And we are going to make it successful. You are going to come to a Mavericks game, and it's going to be fun and whatever. And he did that for like 2 weeks, and it was amazing results, but it was just smiling and dialing. Just a thought. Now, that's the old days when, it was more on the phone and whatever. They were just hustling, past ticket holders, I believe. And it's amazing because at that time, I think Cuban was extremely successful. But that's how he got there, by just hustling things. And might be a thought. It's just getting the word out more. And that sounds like that's what you're doing.
We're trying to do that, and I don't have all the answers, and so we are reaching out as an organization to as many resources as possible to help us. So as we speak, I actually I chose to miss the morning session today to be on this podcast. I don't want you to feel bad about that, Gary. I chose you, but we've got they came in yesterday afternoon. A member of the ECHL staff is here. Yesterday and today doing some sales training, as well as a gentleman named Steve DeLay, who owns 2 minor league baseball teams. He previously worked in Las Vegas managing ticket revenue for 14 different professional sports organizations across the country. He helped start the Savannah Bananas, which he won't take any credit for what they're doing, but in terms of setting up the sales structure and how they initially got people into something that wasn't an organization when he started with them. This guy has so many great ideas, and yesterday our staff was just blown away listening to things he had to say. And one of the things that he mentioned was, anybody who's been a season ticket holder in the previous 2 years that's not now, he says I should be sending them a letter and saying I'd like to have you come back to a game. My treat, come back, tell me what your experience is. I want to know about it, and I think that's a phenomenal strategy. I do want to understand people's experiences, and I want to know how we can make it better, because ultimately this is something that I'll say it a million times. This is a community asset, and I want to make it something that everybody in this community loves, and it's accessible to people in this community. So how we get there, I don't quite have the answer yet, but some of the things you're suggesting are absolutely on the list of things that we've got to find time to do.
If you've been around the area, you haven't been into the arena, you're missing something. It's a treasure just to go in there and see it. What's it hold, 6,000-7,000 people?
So we've got, it's just over 5,000,
Okay.
including suites and club areas. Our, sort of the general bowl ticket is around 4,400.
Okay, so that'd be a nice, that's a nice size. I know they fill it for volleyball and whatnot, but so let's talk about the Heartlanders. What they're AA compared to maybe baseball, but tell us a little bit about the specific hockey league and what goes on with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are an affiliate of the NHL's Minnesota Wild.
Okay.
So the top level in our organization is the Minnesota Wild. And then what I would say is the next tier down is the American Hockey League team, which is in Des Moines, and that's the Iowa Wild. And then we feed into the Iowa Wild here from the Iowa Heartlanders. So similar to what you said, it would be like Double-A baseball.
Okay.
And there are some other hockey teams in the area. So the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders. The difference between the Rough Riders and the Heartlanders is the age and the division. So the Rough Riders are students who are in high school, probably like 16 to 19, 16 to 20, and they're trying to get a college scholarship is what they're working towards. The Iowa Heartlanders are made up of guys who have been to college and are out of college that are working their way up to the top. And some of those guys, that aspiration is very real, that this is just the place you have to start. We also have 2 guys on our roster that are on Minnesota Wild contracts that, for whatever reason, are doing a stint of time with us as they make their way back up there. And we also have 6 guys that are on what we refer to as 2-way contracts. So they're actually contracted by the Iowa Wild, but they spend a significant amount of time with us, and they'll go back and forth. And so from a roster management standpoint, it's not very clean. That literally at any point in time, the Minnesota Wild could have a guy go down to injury, and they pull somebody from Iowa, and Iowa pulls somebody from us, and then we've got to look around the league at whoever else is maybe cutting a player or putting him on waivers, or somebody that we know wants to get back into hockey but's been out of it for a couple weeks, couple months. And then as soon as that player comes back to the Wild, they send the person back down to Iowa, they send the person back down to us, and then we've got to make a decision who on our roster are we keeping and who are we letting go. And there isn't any direct place for us to help send that player to keep their career going. It's truly just sort of a cut situation.
That's hard to keep continuity, isn't it, with people going in and out? But
it is.
So you're kind of a move-up league, or you're in it, and your goal is to move them up, and they come back and they see how they're playing and whatnot. So that would be hard to juggle that. And they are pros, right?
They are. Yep. So
Yep.
they are paid. We were required to provide them housing. They've got a collective bargaining agreement that sets weekly salary, floors and ceilings, as well as a team weekly floor and ceiling. There's things that we can and can't do. Like with the Cedar Rapids Rough Riders, are teams that are in the USHL. They're similar to those high school kids. There's a lot of things that people can give to them. And because of our collective bargaining agreement, we can't have anybody give anything to our players. That would be considered like additional compensation. So that would be if a player is trying to decide whether to come play for the Iowa Heartlanders or, say, like the Wheeling Nailers. If the Wheeling Nailers are saying, well, if you come here, like, I've got $1,000 for you here, I give somebody a car, like none of that stuff is allowable in our league. So we've got people that are playing because they love it and because they believe in themselves and the dream that we can help play a part in for them.
Do you think you'd get more interest in the community if there was a high school team or the University of Iowa had joined in the fun and used the arena and had hockey? I wonder why the University of Iowa, I don't think, has a team. I think they play out at the mall, don't they? Or they have some kind of a rec league?
So they've I should say the University of Iowa has both a men's and a women's club team. And they're actually phenomenal. I haven't yet met with the men's team, but 2 weeks ago I met with some of the leaders on the women's team. The women's team are back-to-back national champions.
Wow.
The men's team, which again I haven't met with, but the internet tells me they went to the championship game last year in their league. Unfortunately, they didn't emerge victorious, but I mean, we're talking about best in the country for club hockey on the women's side and second best in the country on the men's hockey side. Like we've got some great hockey here, but how do we get people to be aware of that? And certainly the University of Iowa, the athletic department and their marketing dollars needs to go to the sports that they sponsor. And so they don't have any vested interest in those club teams. And I can tell you from working in Iowa athletics that there's a lot of people who have said, hey, you should have a club, or not, excuse me, you should have a varsity hockey team.
Right.
like you mentioned earlier, Minnesota has it, Michigan has it, Michigan State has it. There's a lot of places that have it, and there are people that love hockey. And I think if the University of Iowa had a varsity hockey team, men's or women's, I think people would gravitate towards that. And I've been lucky enough that during my time at the Iowa Athletics Department, I've developed a little bit of a relationship with Gary Barta, who was the former athletic director. Right. And he and I sat down and had coffee a couple weeks ago, and I said, I'm coming into an organization where I think a lot of changes are necessary. We've got really great people who know what they're doing, people who are incredibly talented, that work really, really hard. I think they're working on either the wrong things or they're prioritizing things in a different order than I would want. And when Gary came into the Iowa Athletic Department, he had an incredibly senior staff that was there. And I said, hey, can you help me talk through, like, what are the things that you think you did well in that transition? What are the things that you wish you would have done differently? And so throughout that process, one of the things we talked about was hockey, this exact same thing. How do we grow hockey? Because there's not high school hockey in Iowa City, but there is in some other parts of the state. So is that something that we could possibly get done? And then we talked about the Iowa varsity hockey team, and he said that tons of people offered to, like, be strong supporters of the program. I don't know any of the financial details of that. A lot of people say they want to be strong supporters, but there's varying levels of that. But the reality of what the University of Iowa and every Division I institution faces is that Title IX has the three-pronged test that you've got to make sure that there are equivalent opportunities for men's and women's sports. So if you were going to start a men's hockey team, we've also got to have a women's something. And unfortunately, a couple of years ago, Gary was in a position where he felt he needed to cut three varsity sports. So
swimming, and
when you're in a position you have to cut sports for financial reasons, it's really hard to say, okay, I think we have enough money to add two sports. Right. So, and I don't want to put words in Gary's mouth because Gary didn't say this, but I think that, well, I know Gary grew up playing hockey. He grew up in Minnesota, played hockey, loves hockey. I think he would have loved to have had it at the University of Iowa, but the financial realities of making that possible were maybe just not there.
Have you talked to Beth Getz about it?
I haven't got a chance to talk to her yet. She's got a great last name.
Yeah.
She puts an
O in hers. You
guys
relatives at all, or?
Nope, I'm G-E-T-Z. She's G-O-E-T-Z. I'm an efficiency guy, so my family does it just as quick and easy as we can do it.
Pronounced the same way, I think, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And I've heard wonderful things about Beth. I just haven't had the opportunity to meet with her yet. And
never know.
The people that I still know and stay in touch with at the University of Iowa Athletic Department, they say wonderful things about her. And it's Iowa, or I shouldn't say Iowa. Athletics is a hard business to be in. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of time. There's a lot of effort. There's a lot of energy, and there is no 9 to 5 in that. So tensions run a little high for people sometimes. And if they had bad things to say, I'd hear about it, which I think is really great for Beth in this situation. That everybody I talk to seems to think she's a really great fit for what they need right now.
So it's just a thought, but if you had a high school team, people start watching that, they get more involved in hockey, then it feeds into Iowa, either varsity or club, and they're playing in the arena. And then you have the Heartlanders, it just feeds into it, and you get more and more people excited about hockey. Just a thought, and maybe Beth could help. Maybe there's supporters that will help back that varsity level. I don't know what it would cost. But you have the arena and you have the facilities. That's the start. So to me, the rest can be done if, I don't know. You're right. The football feeds everything, it seems like, but they just signed those 60, 70 million a year contracts with TV in the future in the big 18 or whatever it is. So maybe you can talk to Beth about, maybe you can pull a little bit to hockey. Let's get into Heartlanders again. Let's talk about the sport of hockey. When I watch it, you're right. It's amazingly fast. I have seen the Wild play, and it's amazingly fast. And the puck and the passing, it just seems like I told you earlier. It's like it's part of their stick. They can throw it all the way through guys, and they catch it, and it's just part of their stick. It just seems like a glove how fast they are. Tell us about the training of a hockey player, the athleticism, conditioning, things like that. Let's get into the heart of a hockey player.
Yeah, that is. So I would again reiterate that I'm not a hockey guy. Haven't played. Can't
Right.
even skate. I had a girlfriend once that took me to North Liberty when they freeze over the tennis court, and I made a fool of myself. Thank God she wanted to go at like 9 at night.
Use a chair to skate around. Push the chair in front of you.
It was kind of a role reversal where I was like the kid holding her hand, just trying not to fall down. But one of the things that I'm doing to try and learn hockey is I'm trying to be at practice as often as possible. So in my role, not only do I oversee the front office staff and the general operations of a hockey team, I also oversee our head coach, who's also our general manager, and then the coaching staff and the players. So I'm trying to be there as much as possible while still working on the administrative side of things. And so just being able to watch the guys, the effort they put in, the things that they have to do. And yesterday we had one of our goalies had an issue with his skate. And I assume he's really good at dressing and undressing. He's been doing it with his gear for probably 20 years. And it takes like 45 or 50 seconds if you're great to get all of your stuff off. Like just getting dressed to play is an act of love. And so just all the stuff that they're doing for that, and the guys are showing up. They've got meetings every morning. They do video review. They go through the stuff they're going to work on in practice. Then they've got a strength conditioning session. We're working on getting a yoga component put into that, because there's a lot of hip issues, there's a lot of knee issues, a lot of back issues that come with playing hockey. And that not just ice hockey, if you talk field hockey as well, just the nature of being bent over, but being aggressive and explosive in what you're doing. You have a lot of stuff there. So they do a lot of work just to be able to get on the ice.
Do you have a weight room at the arena?
We do have a section of our locker room that we've got a strength conditioning area that the guys use.
Do you have a strength and conditioning coach, or how do they get through that?
Yep. So we contract with a guy here locally that he comes in and helps us every morning that we're in town.
Good.
He's got some other responsibilities, so he's not a full-time person for us. But I would tell you that his commitment from 8 a.m. to 12:30 each day rivals that of a professional that we would have on staff full-time. So, but it's the passion that these guys have when they're playing, even when they're practicing. I was at practice yesterday, and they were doing defensive positioning drills. And so they basically split the ice in half, and so they were just down on what would be the attack end for us, and they were going cross ice, and so you got 3-on-3 with goalies, and I kid you not, Gary, the back and forth, I bet they did 7 times in 30 seconds. I mean, just the intensity of like how fast you have to go, how quick it is, the explosiveness, the speed, like. You're looking at me right now, and this should come as no shock that I was never a varsity athlete. But growing up playing sports, soccer, basketball, tennis, golf, there's explosiveness, there's speed required in all of those things. And what these guys are doing is far beyond what I've ever seen in person.
A lot of it's skating backwards too, which isn't easy. I mean, it's hard enough to skate forwards.
I can't skate at all. Yeah.
And a lot of times they're going backwards, and it's just like it's effortless.
Yeah.
Their skateability. So where did a lot of that? So obviously conditioning. The way I look at ice hockey is it seems like they're wrestlers on ice. That type of conditioning and mentality, and they're on ice, and be able to do what they're doing on ice is just beyond amazing. And if you've never been on ice, you're right. If you don't skate, it's not easy.
Especially when it's a very, I would say it's a physical sport. I don't know that I would go to the level of like it's a collision sport, but there's definitely a contact sport.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm really glad to hear you say that it's almost like wrestlers on ice. That I'm very familiar. When I was at the University of Iowa, I worked with Coach Brands and that program on a couple Olympic trials, a Big Ten championship in 2016, and then before I left Iowa, was responsible for starting the process to get the World Cup here in 2018. So I'm very familiar with wrestling, and that you're right. There's an intensity and a focus that if you haven't been around a practice session with wrestlers, you're not prepared for what they do. That level of focus and commitment is unbelievable.
Yeah. If you're not focused, you're going to get tore apart. I mean, you're just going to get thrown away.
And
ready to go.
Hockey guys have at least in my limited experience in the past 9 weeks, our guys have that same level of intensity that like I'm here and I want to win, and when I don't win, that's unacceptable, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure that I win tomorrow.
Right.
And
right.
so while we haven't quite seen that success on the ice yet this year, the effort level that these guys have to build themselves into a contender is right there. I couldn't ask for anything more as president.
Tell us a little more about hockey for the folks that don't know. There's 3 periods, right?
Correct.
How long does a period last?
They last 20 minutes.
Okay.
And
How long
then,
in between?
So we got 2 intermission periods, and the league rules indicate that it can be between 15 and 18 minutes.
Okay.
So that's up to what we want to do for fan engagement, sponsor interaction, and so most of ours run 17 to 18 minutes.
And what do you try to do in those periods? Do you shoot off T-shirts, or what are you trying to do for the kids that come out and the fans?
We would love to take suggestions. Anybody who's listening,
Okay.
I think we do a lot of great things, and I would preface this with I've only seen 2 games that we do with the Iowa Heartlanders, and so we've got some. Well, first and foremost, we've got to prepare the ice for the next
Right.
period. So
Zamboni
we've
comes
got
out. And
Zambonis come out, and we've got Zamboni rides that
Oh,
are available. So
okay.
people who are celebrating something or just want to be a part of the excitement or the action can ride Zambonis. We've got some corporate sponsors that want certain games played. So whether that's shoot a puck from midline to be able to win a car. We've got a couple things where it's it's new this year that it'll be kind of like can I say beer pong?
Yeah.
Except you don't have to drink a beer. We've just got garbage cans that then you'll take a ball and try and throw it like full size to get it into those cups to win prizes. And there's a variety of other things. The guy who handles he's our director of game operations. Jarrett Mesher is unbelievably good. He's a really young man. He's 24 years old, but he's got probably 6 years of experience working in minor league sports. Unbelievable work ethic. Great ideas, excellent in the execution. Our interns that work for him love him, and so he's doing a lot of great things there. Unfortunately, I can't speak to all of the things that he's got planned for the year yet, but I can tell you that anybody who buys a ticket will not be disappointed when they come out and see what's going on.
So if the kids have a birthday party, what a great place to come out and watch hockey.
100%.
And then enjoy between each period. There's something going on for the kids or whatnot. So.
Yep.
Or whatever kind of event socially, just come out and make that centered around hockey.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And we've got a ton of opportunities for that. We've got a couple suites that we have access to sell game by game.
Right.
That's a really great experience. I had a couple friends came on opening night to do that and just had an absolute blast. I had my birthday party in the club area last year. And we do have some birthday party packages, or if there are people that want to do corporate outings or you're entertaining guests, whether that's personally or professionally. There's just so many ways to connect. And I mean, I could spend the next 10 minutes listing off things for you, but I don't know that's what your listeners want to hear.
So do you serve alcohol for adults?
We do.
You do?
Yep.
So you can get a drink or you want or whatever.
Yep, you can absolutely
food,
get that.
All kinds of goodies there. So you got everything you need. You just need to get out there and see them.
Absolutely.
So,
and you've made mention of it a couple times about the arena and some of the people that we've had come in. So a friend of mine is the director of, I want to say, marketing and game promotions or marketing and corporate sponsorship for the Las Vegas Golden Knights, who's defending Stanley Cup champion. She was in town for an Iowa football game 4 or 5 weeks ago, and she came into the arena and she looked at it and just said, wow.
Yeah.
Like it's 2 weeks ago, we had a guy who started the Seattle Kraken, which is the NHL team there, who started the Seattle Sounders, which is the MLS team there. He also was responsible when the Staples Center opened in Los Angeles. He was the guy that was responsible for that. He's a Cornell College graduate, and he connected with a member of our staff who's from Cornell College. And so he came in, really accomplished guy, and the first thing he does is take pictures. It is an absolutely gorgeous arena.
Yeah, it is.
It's really great to be able to get around. Every seat in the house is unobstructed.
Yeah, it's a great seat.
There's no bad way to be in the arena,
Right.
whether it's for the Heartlanders or for anything else
Right.
that's there. But I would be remiss if I didn't double down on your comment that it's an unbelievable facility, and if people haven't seen it,
Right.
you are missing a gem.
Right. Let's maybe go through, tell us about some upcoming events and maybe go through some of the slides here if Austin and pull those up. But tell us about your schedule's underway. You've had two games?
We've had 2 home games so far.
Home games,
Yep.
okay.
And what we've got coming up, we actually have a game tomorrow night against Kalamazoo at 6:35, and then we also have a game Thursday night against Kalamazoo at 6:35.
Okay.
And then on Saturday, we're playing Kalamazoo again, but this time at 7 p.m. And it's Veterans Day, so we've got some Veterans Day promotions going on. Our official Veterans Day game is going to be on the 17th, which would be not this coming Friday, but the following Friday. But because it's Veterans Day, and particularly because there's an Iowa home football game this Saturday, we want to double down on that. So people who are at the Iowa football game or who are watching it at their homes, we've got a great way to continue your sports day. And I don't know that we've ever tried to market that in the past, but for people who love sports, you're in a great place that you can wear your black and gold at both places.
Yeah.
Heartlanders wear black and gold, so they just love it all day long. And then something that's unique, well, I think it's unique that we do, is next Wednesday we have what we're calling the field trip day, and this is the second year that we've done this. And we've got a sponsor partner, which I believe is Mid-American Energy, that provides tickets for, I believe, every 5th grader in the Iowa City School District is offered a ticket to come to the game, and they go on a field trip. So we play our game at 10:35 in the morning, so that the kids can be a part of that day. And we're about to announce in the next couple days, probably on Monday, that because the game's at 10:35 in the morning, we're going to offer every seat, including glass seats, which go for $45 regularly. Every seat will be $10.35. We want people to come in and enjoy it. So anybody who's taking the day off, anybody who maybe doesn't have a scheduled shift on Wednesday, or somebody who just wants to play hooky, we want to be able to get them in and see the product that we've got.
So how long do you allow for a game? 2 hours, roughly?
It's about 2 hours and 15 minutes.
2 hours and 15
is what
minutes.
You can expect, and then if we go into overtime, you get some extra free hockey.
Yeah, good. What do we got for slides, Austin? Here, maybe just go through these briefly here to finish. So that's somebody that must be in a penalty box, huh? Or maybe he's just coming out on the ice.
Yep. So this is probably pregame. One of the things that I've asked of our players. So the night before training camp started, I introduced myself, said, I'm the new president, and my job is to make this community love what we do.
Yeah.
And so what I'm going to do is, as players, I'm going to set you up on as many dates as possible, and it's your job to make sure that people see the value in you. And so what we're seeing right here is a guy who's taking a chance to meet with a young fan and talk to him about whatever that young kid wants to do. We want to be able to create those connection points so that people feel like this is their team. This is somebody that they like to root for.
Great.
We got a goal scored here from just based on some of the names on the jerseys. This was either last year or the year before, but
and there's a siren going, isn't there? Lights and
we've got
wild.
that, so you know. And here's our mascot Dash. This is him pregame coming out. He's the first on the ice for us before our starting lineup comes out.
And he's a deer, right?
He is, yep.
Not an elk. He's a deer.
He's a deer. Yep. But we for those people who are members of the Elks Lodge, you are loved cousins of our mascot. This is just
Pucks.
building a fun little pyramid of pucks here.
Yeah. Oh, that's neat.
This is pregame. We got a little fire display going on while Dash is out there. Another what looks like a post goal celebration. Immediate post goal celebration. And this is part of our starting lineup introductions.
It's nice. You shut the lights off. It's really pretty in there.
Yeah. So there's some game action there, and I'm glad that our director of communications, David Fine, who does an incredible job, has picked out some really great shots here that show what it's like when we've got fans that have energy, and some of these shots maybe don't showcase the attendance in the best light. But we've got some games where it's a pretty good crowd, and regardless of the number, I think something that's enjoyable about hockey is that the people that are there love it. They're there to have a good time. Something that really resonates with me is that when I was at the University of Iowa, we would get lots of feedback about, the basketball games are too stale. People aren't excited about it, or the football environment isn't as exciting as it is at X university. And some of that, and we'd also get feedback from other people that would say, hey, I've been a season ticket holder for a long time, and the people in front of me stand up, and I can't see the game, and I don't want to stand up. And that's their right as a ticket holder. But there's maybe at the University of Iowa, there's some people who are there to watch as opposed to be a part of the entertainment. And my experience at Heartlander games is people are there because they want to be a part of it. Yeah. They want to have fun. And so while we may not have a sellout crowd, we've got people that want to be there, that get excited. And I think when you're there, everybody will feel that connection. And that's the emotion that I want to be able to sell for people. But I've only been at 2 games. I've got some work to do in terms of capturing that and packaging it well.
Well, that's true, but all it can do is go up. You just get better and better with your push and attitude. It'll just get better and better for everybody. And what a great time it is when you go there. It's fast, it's moving, it's sports, it's teamwork. It's all the things you like in athletics goes on in a hockey match. When somebody gets checked, I mean, it's pretty exciting. They really get checked and they get knocked up against the wall. And it is fast-paced. And what a neat family thing, or whatever occasion you got. Come out and enjoy what a fabulous facility it is. Enjoy the Heartlanders. And just have fun. Like you said, have fun. And I think it's neat after a football game, Rutgers, you got to, we play this Saturday. Then you got the Heartlanders that night. What a neat idea to just keep it going.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know, even if you don't know much about hockey, it's still a fun night, and you will learn it little by little. You'll pick up on it. So, and I think you're doing some neat things. We're excited. We're so excited to have you here, have the Heartlanders in Coralville, Iowa City. It's just a neat addition to have hockey. It's just great. And what a great event during the winter. You really can't get outside as much, so you can come in and enjoy the Heartlanders. So.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate that, Gary. And if I can add one more thing about having fun, you can buy seats on the glass for a hockey game. There is no other sport, professional or otherwise, that you can be that close.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about football, tennis, there's a variety of sports where they have like physical walls that you can't get past.
Right.
And in basketball or in golf, they've got stanchions that keep you so far from the court. Literally, when that check goes on in the boards, like you have the ability to be face to face. Like you will not find a sport where you can be closer to what's going on than what's offered in hockey. Yeah. And for people who really want that adrenaline, that want that speed, that power, that aggression. I hear a lot of people say they love fights, and I can't guarantee you any fights. Right. I know our guys are prone to get into them, which has its place in the game, but hockey is something that I really think is for everybody, and we need to help find a way to connect everybody to it.
Great. Well, Matt, it's been great. Matt Getz, again with the Heartlanders, president of the Heartlanders. It's been a fun time here this morning, and if you've not seen the Heartlanders, get out and check them out. You're going to have a good time. So thanks again, Matt.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Gary. This was wonderful.
You bet.